Hi everybody and welcome back. If you watched my previous video, you'll see how I started the prep job on this Electric Glide Harley Davidson touring bike. Now, the original pieces are all in really good shape. Not a lot of damage, no scratches, deep gouges, anything like that. Also, there's no color change on this bike, so it's staying black. Black's hard to paint. Why redo the wheel if you've already got a good base to start with? So just a quick recap on what I did up to this point. I started with the main piece, okay? And I scuffed the clear coat with 320 wet dry sandpaper. Scuffed everything up, cleaned it up real good with a wax and grease remover. Then I taped off the area that I'm going to use. This did have an original 2 pinstripes in this area. No artwork, no silver. What I did was masked off the outer edge, put a tape line down the center just to get my separation here with the black, and then I shot the whole thing with a silver sealer waterborne paint in order to do the artwork over top of this, and that'll make the artwork pop. I went over this with a clear inner coat. Now, an inner coat is not a final clear. It doesn't have the hardeners, catalysts, or anything like that. So it allows me to get a nice surface, scuff it up. I can come back to this later with no issues, just a quick scuff and I'm good. So once I sprayed that inner coat clear, I went back over this and scuffed it up with a 600 grit. Again, gives me a good tooth. I can put the artwork on top of this and then spray it with a candy, and then I can lock the whole thing in again with an inner coat, whether it's water-based or solvent-based, which, you know, as long as it's protected, it protects the artwork. And then I can clear coat later the entire thing with a solid clear coat with the catalyst and the hardener in it, and that'll be my final cover. So I still need to tape off the inside edge of this to protect that silver second pinstripe. Once I do that, I'll mask everything else off and then apply my artwork down the center. So I'll show that process so you kind of get an idea of where I'm going with this. And then at the end, you'll see the final product. And minus the clear coat, I'll wait until the end so I can clear everything at the same time, but it'll give you a good idea of how it looks and how I got to that point. So, you know, follow along. Hope you enjoy the video. All right, hope you can see that. But right along that inner edge of the silver, I've placed a 1/8 masking tape, and I just followed that edge all the way around. And that will give me my second pinstripe. So now what I'll do is I'll mask out the outer edge just to cover up the rest, and you'll only see minus 1/8 inch. You'll only see this silver here, and that'll be the area that gets painted. Again, the 1/8 pinstripe all the way around the silver. Cover that, back mask it with the yellow tape, which doesn't matter what you use, but just overlap that 1/8 just to protect the outer edge. Then throw your rest of your masking tape to cover the outer area so you don't get overspray on everything else. And then when we're done, we'll just peel all of that away, and it should leave our artwork and our pinstripe. So here all I'm doing is taking a photocopy that I've cut out of the rabbit that I'm going to be stenciling. Just using it as a stencil to mask and mark the area that I'm going to place it, just as a registration. Then I'm using a stencil just to apply some textures and effects to the background area. The stencil itself is Texture Effects stencil by Gerald Mendez, and I'm just
fogging it, moving around, just throwing some texture in the background. The paint for the artwork is a wicked detailed black with a wicked transparent base, mixed about 3-to-1 transparent, just to make it easier to build this up so it's not so stark. At this point, all I'm doing is a dusting of black around the edges. This will help fade it out into that edge where the pinstripe is taped off. It just gives it a good contrast between the pinstripe and the silver, and the more candy I lay over top of it, it'll also darken up. Hey, if you're still watching, how about you give this video a like and hit that subscribe button. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments section down below. Or if you just want to say hi, I'd love to hear from you. Please let me know what you think. I just continue to work through the image of the rabbit, slowly building up the darks, just so I don't get too dark at one moment. I continue to work around the ears, darken up those darkest darks, watching the highlights because you're kind of working in reverse here. And I'll continue through all the details like the nose, the eyes, under the chin. And the key's not to get truly detailed here because candies will cover up a lot of your detail work, but you can get smooth gradations and different values, things like that, but you're not going to get a lot of detail when you apply the candy over top of the black, so it's not critical to get super detailed when doing this. I'll place a link to anything that I've used in this video as far as supplies go in the comment section down below.
Okay, so little bunny, I just shaded it in, don't have to get real heavy, and then fogged it around to give a little bit of a drop shadow, and then a little bit of a texture, and then around the outside edge just fogged into the black, so that'll darken it up. And what I'll do next is cover this with a candy blue, and we'll see how it looks.
At this point, I've decided to put on a small dust mask just to keep from breathing all the overspray. The paint that I'm using is Candy 2.0 Caribe Blue with UVLS clear. It's mixed 6 parts clear to 1 part candy. You can see I'm keeping a good distance and just lightly dusting this so that I can build up the color slowly to prevent marbleizing or stripes into the candy. Doing it slowly like this allows you to build up, even though the UVLS clear helps with the flow of the candy itself.
Okay, so I've done the artwork and I've applied my candy blue over the artwork. Now, one of the things to consider when applying the candy with an airbrush is you got to be real slow and take your time. If you don't, you'll get a lot of striping because the more candy you put over top, the darker it's going to get. So if you get any striations or variations in color, it's almost impossible to fix because it will just keep getting darker and darker and darker in that one spot. So, just take your time and be careful in going over it. But, this turned out pretty good. Normally you could do, large areas with a larger spray gun, but I just used an airbrush and just went nice and easy and slow back and forth, maintaining your overlap just to get that nice even coverage. And it takes a little bit longer with an airbrush because it's got to build up all those layers slowly. But when you're happy and you get to that one final stage where you're happy with the color and the fades, and the artwork shows through good, then you can stop. Now, because I'm working with waterborne or water-based paints. And anytime you're masking with water-based, it's good to let it sit for about an hour before you remove any of the masking. So I'll leave this sit for a little bit. I'll come back, we'll unmask it, show you what the final product looks like. Okay, so I've pulled off most of the masking, and I'm going to go to pulling off the actual final pinstripe mask. Just wanted to show you that process. It has been about an hour since I sprayed this, just to give it time to totally seal up, dry up, flash off, and we'll just go real slow. So you can see here, it's nice and easy. All right. With this water base, it'll accept clear at any time. But you could put another coat of intercoat clear over top of this to really lock it in and protect it. And then, if you're going to wait to do the final clear at some point, then you can go over that intercoat clear with a scuff pad. But this looks really good. But you don't want to use any type of water-based cleaner, because I used water-based paint. That water-based cleaner will actually destroy this. So you can use a solvent-based cleaner and wipe it down and get any fingerprints and stuff like that, and it should be okay. It shouldn't do any harm to this, but you don't want to use water-based because, water-based product. So, that's the process. Thank you so much for checking out my video. If you found this video helpful, give it a like, subscribe, and hit that notification button. Until next time.